Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show, it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Hightown. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, let's start off with Ray's situation. It is pretty messed up, him going to that support group where the parents of one of the kids that OD'd on the new drugs that are circulating, they're pouring their hearts out about, their experience, and then you have Ray being like, talking a little, obviously fictitiously from his perspective, obviously coming up with a lie about like, I wasn't there for Nikki, which is all true, but saying that Nikki got locked up for drugs. He's spending 4 years in prison, so it's like, because one of the people there is Coco's mom, and he's trying to find out. I'm surprised that went as smoothly as it did, especially he was just like, what was your son named Coco? Oh, yeah. So who get drugs from? What? Why? It's like, no, I just wanted to know if your son knew my son. It's like, oh, okay. I was like, don't you think that's kind of a leading question? But it's like, well, I guess that's always been Ray's issue. He has no tact. But I was like, wasn't there a smoother way to get to that? I mean, I guess it's like, right, you're not trying to waste time trying to build a rapport, because this type of situation is usually like you build that up over time, get closer to somebody, but it's like, right, why waste all that time? And it's just like, right, get to it. Ended up finding out the information, which I love that thing of like, the person he was connected to was like a black girl. She's not from around here. I mean, and I'm not trying to be racist or anything, which I'm like, oh man, I love that line so much. To me, I just think that's the funniest line. I'm like, I'm not racist or anything. Like, I just love that line because I just think it's the funniest thing, because it's like, it's okay. Like, I get what you're trying to, because even Ray was almost like, yeah, sure. And like, obviously she was crying, and Ray's like consoling her a little bit, and it's just kind of like, he's like, well, he got some information, but not all that he needed. So he brings that to Alan, but then they start running through. It's like, right, there's not too many black women we've arrested that might be connected to this world. Some have gotten out of it. Some have like moved on to other things. But then it's like, right, the person who runs things who ran the drugs and stuff around here was like connected was Wayne. And it's like, remember the two sisters that were with him? It's like, no, they were kids. It's like, yeah, but it's like, remembering Charmaine. So he goes to talk to his CI, your boy Ocido, who's sitting on easy time now, which he's so happy about. I love that, like, moving to easy time, like, the officers, like, gave him, like, the biggest amount of shit, like, throwing him against the bar. I was like, I thought, like, because at first I was like, oh, man, I hope Charmaine hadn't already given him the drugs or whatever, like, to start spreading around. No, it's just like they were doing that just like because they wanted any excuse to make him not make this transfer over not easy. And so, but yeah, it's like, one screw up is all it takes for you to lose this. But he's in easy time. He meets his new bumpmate, Vernon. And obviously there are talks about like everyone in easy time. They're not necessarily drug dealers. They're drug users. It's kind of like a combination of like, it's supposed to be like a rehab, but obviously it's, and I love he's saying like straight up like, oh yeah, like these prison guards, like this is a private prison. Like they make money the more people are locked up. You think they ever going to let us go? That's why it's like, they get this sweet deal of combining a rehab rather than let us go to an actual rehab, but rehab facility is here in the prison. So they still get our body count, But hearing all that stuff about Vernon and everything, about his circumstances, what he kind of got addicted to, what he would do, that I think all that kind of hit with Ocido, because he's like, okay, Vernon's going to be like, I think his main dude he turns to when it comes to all of this stuff. He's probably going to be like using Vernon as kind of like his insider, or rather like his number two guy type of situation. So, which I think is interesting, because obviously Kizzle filled that role a little bit, but it's like, that's super not, because I know like, well, they were both number twos to like Frankie, but like Kizzle was more his number two, I guess, or was he more Kizzle's? I guess maybe they were on equal footing, especially when it came to Frankie. I don't know who considered themselves more the superior in that situation. I guess Junior was kind of more so his number two in a regard, but nevertheless, he's getting physical therapy there. It's like, wait, there's a doctor here, and he's talking to Janelle, which she immediately shut that shit down. Like, we're going to have a problem. And it's like, I'm going to help you with your therapy, your physical therapy, but obviously he start feeling good. He's like, this is actually good. He's like, all right, I'm on this motherfucker, like, so. But the moment he was checking her, I was like, okay, but she ain't letting that fly. Doesn't mean it won't turn into something like that, but, for now, it don't seem like she playing that. Homie don't play that. I was quoting that recently. I I forgot what it was. Something made me think about that, like, homie, don't play that from In Living Color. Like, I recently quoted it. I just don't remember what the circumstances were. It wasn't anything recorded. It was just in my personal life. I don't remember what sparked that, but that's why that was in my head. Nevertheless, tangents and all that aside, I thought it was interesting. And obviously, Alan comes to visit him about Charmaine, because it's like, right, all this could be easily taken from you. So I almost thought Osito was going to, like, go, all right, because of that, he was going to give Charmaine up. But it's like, nah, Charmaine held it down. Plus, she's giving me opportunities. Plus, like, now I'm in easy time. Like, I ain't no snitch, which I think it's funny. I guess that's also the thing, too, like, why he easily told on, like, the Kizzle thing. Because it's like, right, let me sell out Junior because Junior's dead, so it don't affect him. So it ain't the same thing as snitching. It's a loophole around snitching, because it's like you're snitching on someone that's dead, even though you're the one that actually pulled the trigger in this situation. But it's not even snitching, it's more so passing the buck. So that's what that comes down to. The fact is that he doesn't want to snitch on Charmaine, especially because it's like, because he's on easy time, he'll get out quicker, and Charmaine will hook him up. So, loyalty matters and stuff like that in this world. But Alan found out he was lying because he saw that Charmaine had signed the guest book. And so I thought Alan was going back to talk to Osito, but he was like, no, I'm not going to talk to him because that bastard's just going to lie to my face. So he just bounced. But him and Ray went to go talk to Charmaine's, like, aunt. I love that they roll up there and it's like, now Charmaine and her sister are there. You're like, yo! It's like, oh, you were looking for us? It's like, yeah, Osito gave them the heads up and stuff like that. It's like, yeah. I love that Ray did freak out the little sister a little bit, too, because, well, when he was talking about, like, them touching the fentanyl and stuff, because that stuff is so deadly, like, you touch it, you die. That's what I think I was thinking about something recently where, like, a cop was touching something and ended up passing out. I think it was this. I was thinking about it at I was reviewing something else, and I think I referenced this, but I didn't remember what show I remember that from. I was thinking about it, I just couldn't remember what show it was from, but now I remember it was from this. So, but it was more so like, oh, do you guys staying in Cape Cod? It's like, because she covered her bases because she knew to be like, oh yeah, I went to visit Osito. He stopped by to see my uncle from time to time. Like, he's a friend, so I went to check him out. It's like, yeah, they covered their bases. They're looking out for each other because once again, like, Osito trying to show his loyalty, but also he knows like Charmaine's going to hold him down, like, got his back. When he eventually does get out. So he's playing both sides of the fence of like, yeah, I'm benefiting from like helping you out with the Kizzle thing, gave myself enough of good graces to end up in easy time. So I don't like, Alan is threatening to take it away, but could he? Not unless he sets Osito up in something to take that fall and end up back in, and then it's like, right, he keeps threatening, but I don't know if there's anything he can necessarily do. I mean, the cops there can be aggressive and do something, but I don't know. I don't know if there's anything Alan can necessarily do, and Alan isn't the like cross the line type of person, especially after the whole Ray thing. He's going to be like above, like he was always like a stickler, but now it's like even more so. I do think it's fascinating that because initially he didn't want to take Ray with him, but Ray was like, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is you got a family. I wouldn't want your like child to grow up without a dad. He's like, really? He's like, I know you're trying to play me, you asshole, but fine, let's go. So. But now finding out like Osito's his CI and everything, he's like, oh no, he's like, no, more props to you about that. So obviously they've got to try and figure out something about where Charmaine and her sister are staying in Cape Cod. They need to figure out like where they're staying. So that's one side of things. Another side of things involves the whole Jackie thing. Like her and Ed went to see God, what was Gustavo's like. I forgot what they called him, but they gave him that name because Ed's pretty tight with him because he's like, yeah, this guy knows all the police, he knows all the favorite, like he knows how to skirt around the law and stuff like that. But the missing sharks, the fact that they're still having that as a background thing makes me think that's going to tie into this. Like the fact that the missing fish or something like that might tie into these drugs. I don't see how, like, not unless, because I was about to say it's not like. Because they're using planes to transmit. So, like, I mean, so it does seem like it is a poaching thing, but maybe it's just going to be a background thing connected to, like, Jackie's old job and, I don't know. Obviously, it was, like, an important thing for her and Ed, but now that they were over here, because they were meant to see, like, Gustavo's, like, rival Billy, because he's the name that they got. But more so than anything, it was visiting her dad, who's played by the actor's name is Carlos Gomez. I've seen him in stuff. I just can't remember what the most recent thing was. I feel like it was something super recent I saw him in. Like, I know one show I remember him in is he's one of the leads in the show The Glades. So that's the first thing to come to mind. But I feel like there's something even more recent. There's something else I know him from. I just can't place it. But I feel like he's one of those actors. You've seen him in so much stuff. But I'd actually forgotten that they referenced Jackie's dad in season 1. And obviously she meets him. And it's like, when you're meeting her dad, you kind of see a little bit of probably like where Jackie's addictions kind of come from. I mean, if you're like, I think if you're like a parent is an addict, you're most likely to end up one too, just because like I'm sure there's a whole bunch of like family shit and drama like associated with that, because obviously she kind of has like an awkward relationship with her dad. It's like, oh, you should call your mom sometimes. Like, yeah, I do. Like, just because she don't blame me that she doesn't tell you shit. So it's like, and even him wanting a hug, and she kind of hugs him, and just, I wonder, is it because like being around him makes her think about who she was? I mean, it's just like probably just his own situations regardless, but probably like, oh, like she's probably scared of ever ending up like her dad, because she knows she could too, like her, the way she is, especially how she was a lot of season 1, but that's also like how she's been a lot of time. I think maybe that scares her, like, I don't want to end up like my dad. So I don't know, because she also knows, like, right, it's like, oh, you stink, like you've been drinking it up or whatever, and he's like, really, you going to judge me? She's like, right. She's like, yeah, like despite like how like I do love you, but she has like, there's definitely like this like awkwardness of just like they're not as tight, like I guess because she kind of sees her dad for who he is. And once again, maybe it's just the fear of like, I don't want to end up like that, because I know I can be like that, I've been like that, I don't want that to be me anymore. So I think it's interesting, the moment she got back, her and Leslie banged it out in like the locker room. So, but they found out about Daisy, whose real name is Brittany. So they end up visiting Renee, and Renee's kind of like, all right, giving them the go ahead. She ain't got no, like, it's like, right, you keep me and Frankie off your radar, that's fine. Like, whatever happens to Jorge is Jorge's issue. But, like, she's not going to help necessarily, but she's just going to stay out of the way. Which I think is interesting. Her mom was like, oh, did you get a boob job or something? She's like, no. She's like, oh, they look natural. I'm like, oh, yeah, it must be because of the pregnancy. Her boobs must be getting bigger or something. Like, and because immediately after, she kind of closes up her jacket. Cause that's what I can only assume that's what that was in reference to. But obviously, like, in the club, it's not just Daisy. He's pimping out all the strippers at the club. And obviously, Renee has, like, you know, talks to Frankie about, like, right, we need to keep that low key. Like, we just got away from the cops. That wasn't even that long ago. And he's already, like, doing this. As we don't need to draw more attention. So he listens, and he goes and talks to Jorge, which that right there, I love, because even he admitted, like, yeah, like, I love him, he's my cousin and everything, but even Jorge, he even admits, like, Jorge can go a little wild. And so now it's like, Jorge kind of like steps to him a little bit about, like, you know, it's like, oh, like, I thought you're supposed to be the big shot and everything, you pay off the IRS and stuff like that, and just like, you know, like, Frankie's like, what's I even supposed to be? He's like, no, it's cool, you want me to back down, I'll back down. But it's just kind of like, yeah, Jorge ain't someone to, like, he's not going to, like, back down just because, like, because I think especially from his perspective, he feels like Frankie is on, it's like, you're not even talking to me from you, it's your wife coming to you, whispering in your ears, and now you're coming to me, like, because I think he's on that, like, machismo type of shit of just kind of like, how are you going to let some woman run you type of thing. It's like, you're the one with all the power. We're the ones with the power. We're more family. Like, you running this business is taking care of your family. Like, us, whatever cash we make is us. You know, we're running this. We're doing good. But all right, fine. But obviously, it's like, Jorge ain't going to back down, and that's going to be his undoing that he doesn't listen to. I mean, hell, if he had listened to Frankie, maybe they wouldn't have been in the position that they were in, where Jackie and Leslie being able to, set up Daisy to be their CI. Like, that wouldn't have happened if Jorge wasn't doing what he was doing. So, but I love this. Like, right, so they're gonna need someone to go in there, and the first person that comes to Jackie's mind is Ron, and she's like, I need your help with something. He's like, all right, what? Why don't you get one of your fancy? But she's like, I need you to pay to get a blowjob from a stripper. And he's like, shit, why'd you just say that from the beginning? He's all about it. Poor Daisy. Obviously, she's like, oh, this is entrapment. Also, side note, I guess maybe that kind of supposed to show the fact it's because it is a camera. I'm like, that camera has such low quality, but I guess that's the point. Like, if it's super high def, it's like, no, they're not like the most like budget up the Wazoo police department. So it just makes sense. It's interesting because it's just like from the camera's point of view, and you know, maybe that was just a little attention to detail. I'm like, the quality on that kind of sucks, but I guess that's the point. It looks a lot crisper on the phone because maybe like the phone like up-reses it or something. Like, because I mean, it is a live feed, so maybe that like degrades it a little bit. But the moment it's like recorded, maybe it comes out a little. I don't know. It just like, I just thought that was interesting. Like when they flipped to the like, I was like, oh, that was just maybe, you know. I just think it would be like a lower quality camera. I feel like because it is smaller and stuff like that. But regardless, Ron does his thing. And poor Brittany did get caught up in it, which, you know, Jackie's trying to give her an out, being like, right, you know, I'm not going to try and like force your hand, just think about it. And she was freaked out by it. Jorge could tell something was up. And then she drops the whole daddy act because she knows not to say anything to him because she knew not to say anything. Like, because even if she was like, yeah, they were cops, she'd get in trouble because it's like, how could you be so stupid to fall for it? But she was like, yeah, you know you're not really my dad, bro. And he smacks her in the face. Not just smack, he straight up punched her. You're like, Jesus, Jorge, what the fuck, dude? I mean, damn, her eye is fucking black when she walks out. Because even Renee noticed it. And then, like, Jorge's like, you see what happens? See, that's what happens when people don't listen to me. And he's like, oh, can I get a drink? It's like, because like Renee is like, right, she already didn't like Jorge and the way he's treating people. It's just like, no, you suck. The way he talks to her, the way he treats people, especially because Daisy's supposed to be the woman you love. But it's like the moment she steps out of line. But that's my point with even Frankie. It's like, that might be your cousin. The moment he steps out of line, you know, the moment he tries to cut you out or try to like belittle your involvement and stuff like that is when you're going to start acting out. Like, he's the wild card, and Frankie just, he's familiar. It's, you know, you're not going to turn your back on family like that. So I think like Jorge's going to be like the rude awakening. He's going to screw the pooch on this whole operation for Frankie. But ultimately, Brittany decides to help out. And I love that. It's like, oh, you're around here? It's like, oh, no, but I've been living here for a while. Where are you from? She's like, from America, asshole. And it's like, no, like, I meant, like, where'd you grow up? She's like, oh. Because I guess it's like, you're used to that type of question, like, oh, where'd you grow up? But, I mean, like, where are you from type of questioning. But, you find out that she actually, like, her circumstances, like, why she's got, like, why she was in jail in the first place, why she's on probation and stuff like that. It all started because the boyfriend she had back in 2016 asked her to hide some stuff. She hid it and got busted and was the one that got arrested for trafficking. She has a baby by that person, Valentina, who she lost custody to her parents when she got locked up. And for her, it's like, I can't go back in, which Jackie's like, I could be like, yo, I could use your child against you, but no, like, we need to take, Frankie and Jorge are very dangerous people. Like, they've already killed 2 women that we know of. It's like, you need to, like, make sure you're okay. Like, you need to help us take them down because you need to get as far away from them as possible. So Jackie's like, get whatever information, like, get Jorge's number if you can, and, like, we'll find out. Because it's like, right, like, because now they know about Charmaine. Now, both sides have the same information. They just have a line to Charmaine. Not the same way Alan and Ray do, but they're finding their own way. So eventually those paths are going to cross. Hopefully that doesn't turn into a disrupt. I'm worried about Daisy. I'm like, Daisy ain't going to make it. Especially if Jorge finds out, he's going to kill her. I mean, assholes are ready to punch her in the face for not going, like, you know, talking back to him and stuff. That, you know, he ain't going to be afraid to pop her. But it's like, man, I just get the feeling. Just because, like, someone knowing stuff didn't work out for the ladies in season 1. So I'm like, dude, I hope everything works out for Daisy, especially because you have a child. I'm just, you know, because Jackie's kind of feeling like good. Like, it's just like everything's working out. Especially her and Leslie. I was like, the moment you see, like, because Leslie's asking about her family situation, it's like, well, Leslie opens up about, like, her being, like, her own dad issues because her dad was a cop. But it's her dad, like, yeah, he wasn't, you know, always emotionally there. Because the whole thing is, like, right, like, everyone has dad issues, not just strippers, you know, because that's the stereotype of, like, yeah, like, if you're into porn, prostitution, or strippers, I mean, just sex work in general. If you're in any form of sex work, the stereotype is, oh, you must have daddy issues, you know? So, but it's like, yeah, you don't have to just be in sex work. Like, obviously, Jackie has her own dad issues. But But the fact is, her and Leslie, in the moment her and Leslie were on the beach, Leslie put her hands in hers. I was like, this ain't no like fling. This ain't no like, oh, we just screwing around. It's like, no, like this seemed like a legit relationship, which immediately I'm like, I'm happy for you, Jackie. But then I'm like, things are going to go, like, once again, I'm just scared because I'm like, I don't think Leslie's going to screw her over. That's where I was thinking for the beginning, because like, oh, they're just screwing around. But I'm like, I think this is legitimately turning it into a relationship, because like Jackie's like, oh, I'm doing a good job. We're close to taking down, like we're closer to going after Frankie and Jorge. And then at the same time, I'm with this like badass lady too, like that's my partner. So, which once again, working with someone you're having a fling with can turn super complicated. Granted, neither one of them is married, like once again her situation with Ray, they're both single, so it's not as bad. But working together, that balance between a working relationship and a personal relationship, how those lines can blur, can be an issue. But I don't want to be pessimistic. I hope everything works out for Jackie's sake, but I think like probably even Jackie's worried about things getting too serious, because it's like, when things turn into relationships, that's when things get complicated, especially because of like Jackie's own like vices and proclivities, like that could always like rear its ugly head, and this relationship could crash and burn. I hope that's not the case, but this is a show, like there's going to be drama, and not more drama feel than like your personal life like collapsing, and that causes all your relationships, all the effort she's put forward to come collapsing down. I just get the feeling, because if something happens to Daisy, I think Jackie's going to feel that, and she already felt that last season. I think it will hit her, and she'll kind of hit rock bottom again potentially. Cause I hope it doesn't turn into it, but I feel it in my gut that like Daisy ain't going to make it. She's going to get found out by Jorge. But at the very least, I think Renee is going to like have her back in certain regards, because it's like she wants Jorge out of the picture, and she knows what he does, so it's like she'll probably do more to protect Daisy, hopefully, but we'll see. But what I thought was kind of interesting is like, came back home, obviously Leslie, she's like, oh yeah, like I want you at home waiting for me. She was, and I'm like, and they do their thing, and it speaks volumes that like Jackie let Leslie go down on her. I brought it up before, like I was like, man, if you notice every sexual encounter, like at least to my recollection so far this season, but even last season to my recollection, Jackie always takes control. She never lets anyone take control, because I guess she's like a little, like it's a little hard to kind of let someone else like take the wheel, but she's like you don't have to, but she's like, I want to. And it's like, the fact is, I think that kind of adds more layers to like the whole, like she's giving up some control in the bedroom. So I think kind of speaks to the fact is, this is definitely a relationship, because relationships are give and take. So I was like, that's fascinating, dude, because hell, even earlier, like she was making sure Leslie got off, but didn't necessarily get off herself. But it's like, I guess because like that's such an like, because like she likes once again taking control, but someone going down on her is super intimate maybe. So I don't know. It's interesting to know like how Jackie views that, because like the fact is that this time like it happened, and she let it happen, and might be falling in love, and maybe it's a conversation of, maybe Jackie's, might get afraid and might start pushing away if that L word starts getting thrown around, so we'll see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens, but really that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.